What's up, everybody? It's Justin. Welcome to Live Ask Me Anything, number 92. Whoa, I didn't know this one was going to happen. My internet's giving me trouble. So we're going to see how this goes. I hope that everything is fine and dandy. I hope that we don't have any issues. It took me literally 5 minutes just to get this live video to happen. Not sure what's going on. My internet really doesn't usually give me trouble. I have 1 gigabyte internet. It's usually uber fast. But anyway, make sure everything's going here. The podcast is recording. We got video up and running. We got people in the room live. What's up, Jackie? What's up, Clint? What's up, Allison? What's up, Jessica? What's up, Judy? Hey. Welcome, everybody. I got some last minute questions that came in that I just added. So that'll be cool. Got some really good questions today, some interesting stuff to cover, some stuff that I think I've never covered before, which is always really fun. And then I also forget that there's a lot of stuff that I should be covering more and more because it's been an issue for me for a while that, I mean, there's 92 AMAs, right? And all these AMAs are at least 60 minutes. Some of them are 90 minutes. So there's 92 AMAs. There's 16 Just Justin episodes. There's 48 In Case You Missed It episodes. There's 18 guest interviews right now. There's just, I mean, it's like I have hundreds of podcast episodes and I've only been podcasting for a year, you know? So been rethinking things a little bit about that. If we're going to do a weekly AMA as it stands in this same format all the time, or if I'm going to focus more on guest interviews, or if I'm going to do AMAs that are kind of pre-recorded like Rob Wolf has been doing. I think that's a pretty cool way to go. Anyway, just thinking out loud, and I'm tired, everybody. I'm tired and my eyeballs hurt because I have been building a new Clovis website. IamClovis.com. I've literally been building a new store from scratch all by myself. And as you guys know, I've talked about this before. I'm not a coder. I'm not a graphic designer of any kind. I just get tired of people who are expensive and don't do a wonderful job. So sometimes I roll my sleeves up and I just do shit myself. That's how I get things done with Clovis, right? So anyway, I had this new website built that was like custom coded and it's just not working the way I wanted to. So I think I'm just going to start from scratch and build my own website and have an awesome store. Anyway, you don't care about that. I've just been in front of the computer for a very long time, but I also stepped away from the computer, got a badass calisthenics workout in, thanks to Dr. Wes Hendricks, who will be, his podcast episode will be up soon. Really great episode. I've been doing calisthenics training exclusively. I want to share some of that on Instagram tomorrow. Just haven't had a chance to edit down those videos, but just so you can see the moves and stuff that I'm doing, it's so drastically different from deadlifts and barbells and strict presses and blah, 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 and all these things that I do that I've done for years and years that hurt myself. I just feel amazing training calisthenics. I really do. I feel amazing, and it's super challenging. I think it's way more challenging than a lot. That powerlifting stuff, you can just grunt your way through it, you know? But anyway, yeah. Okay, now I'm just rambling, but welcome to AMA number 92, everybody. We got more people joining. That's awesome. Click the happy face, click the like button, click the heart button, click the happy button, click the emojis. I can't talk tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see how this goes. What's up, Tammy? What's up, Kayla? What's up, Deanna? What's up, Laura? What's up, Michelle? Who else we got? Kayla, thank you so much for tagging people. I really appreciate it. Michelle, thank you for tagging people. This is awesome. I love the tagging. Tag. Hey, let's dig into some questions. You guys, of course, feel free to ask me questions always in the comment section here. You can leave me comments. Oh, also, I wanted to tell you guys the YouTube channel. I don't know if you guys have checked out the YouTube channel, but here, I'm going to put a link for it right here because it's freaking awesome, man. I have somebody helping me with YouTube now, which is really cool because we have these things like kind of broken down. We'll take full AMAs and break them up into playlists, which is really cool. So we have like a playlist for lectins and leaky gut. We have playlists for the interviews that I've done with people. We have a lot of these really cool playlists. So go check that out, youtube.com/theclovisculture. If you haven't checked that out, the YouTube channel is really coming out good, and there's going to be more content going on there. All these guest interviews are going on there. I want to get the Just Justin episodes up on there. So just a lot of really cool stuff to check out. If you haven't, check it out. Clovis Challenge is going strong. We're in week 3 of that. So that'll be wrapped up this week, actually, the first ever Clovis Challenge. If you're a part of that, thank you very much. All right, you guys didn't come for nonstop housekeeping, so let's dig in here. Question number 1, ask me anything, number 92. This is about venison and grass-fed beef, and the question is venison as healthy as grass-fed beef? Now, for those of you that don't know what venison is just the term for deer meat, really, generally speaking. So venison is deer meat, and it's a great question because yes, it is as healthy. Well, okay, so the short answer is yes, venison is healthy, maybe not as healthy, but it's healthy just like grass-fed beef is healthy? The long answer is details matter. I swear at some point I am going to get these details matter t-shirts made, because they need to be made, because all of this stuff is just so nuanced. It's so important to remember that details matter. So let's chat about venison versus grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is a superfood. I think it's like the number one superfood, maybe next to liver, but even liver is not quite the superfood that grass-fed beef is, because even though liver is more micronutrient dense, you don't want to eat loads and loads of it all the time. Whereas like grass-fed beef, red meat can be a part of your daily staple everyday diet, right? So there's a few things to remember here. Yes, if we're talking about venison, wild game venison, then it's basically the equivalent of grass-fed beef in terms of how it's raised, not in terms of nutrient profile. The nutrient profiles are very, very different. We're going to talk about that. But I want to start by letting you know that what's the point of grass-fed beef? Like, what's the reason of regenerative agriculture, 100% grass-fed, grass-finished cattle that are rotationally grazed, right? Like rotationally grazing cattle. So what are we trying to do by raising cattle this way? What we're trying to do is mimic the actual normal habitat or ecosystem of these ruminant animals in the wild. What would bison live like in the wild? What would cows live like in the wild? That's what we're trying to emulate with regenerative agriculture. Now, if you think about wild game, that's as natural as it gets. You don't have to do anything. This is literally an animal living in the wild. What is an animal living in the wild going to eat? It's going to eat its natural diet. It's going to eat what it's designed to eat, right? It's going to live and thrive and produce vitamins and minerals and fats and muscles the way that it is intended to in nature. So yes, of course, in terms of wild game, this is wonderful. This is about as close to hunter-gatherer lifestyle that you can get, particularly if you hunt this yourself. Now, this is like a whole nother, episode, another conversation we could have, but there's all sorts of data and books out now about things like ADHD, like things that in a modern society we consider almost disabilities. But in the past, they were really a superpower. Like hunters had to have ADHD. If you're concentrating on something and you hear the bushes crackle behind you, you better turn around real quick in case something is trying to eat you, right? ADHD was very, very beneficial for a number of things in hunter-gatherer times. Now we just live in this crazy modern society and it doesn't help us so much. But anyway, I digress. That's a different story for a different day. Now, another thing to remember with game meat, with venison, deer, elk, whatever, is there's a lot of these places around the country that are called high fence hunting operations. This means that the property is fenced in by a high fence that the animals cannot jump over. And they are usually fed a lot of stuff that you wouldn't want to feed them, namely corn, a whole bunch of corn. So these become like corn-fed animals. Now, granted, deer in the wild will eat like acorns and things like that in certain seasons. But I mean, if you've ever seen a high-fenced hunting operation, there's just these giant machines that spray corn 360 degrees, and there's corn everywhere, and these animals go around and eat corn. It's the same idea as feedlot cattle, where they're trying to get these animals to be bigger and bigger and bigger. They're trying to get these bigger animals, bigger antlers, bigger bucks, and they're trying to trophy hunt. That's what this high-fence operation is. Now, it's not as bad as like CAFO operations for just force feeding grain and antibiotics and hormones and all these things into cattle. It's not that bad, right? It's not nearly that bad, really. So don't worry if you are in a high fenced operation, like the meat's not going to kill you or anything. But think about it that way: is a deer is as close to, hunter gatherer as you can get. If you go out and hunt it yourself, you get the benefits of literally like your brain, your vision, all these things improve when you are doing acts like hunting. It's the same way we tell old people to do Sudoku puzzles to keep their brain sharp. Hunting keeps your brain sharp. Hunting is actually part of the reason why they think human brains grew so quickly once we became hunters instead of just hunters and gatherers, right? Okay, so nutrition profile. Venison is pretty great for you. I have a freezer full of it, and I don't live like exclusively on it, or I don't eat it every day. What I tend to do is cook big portions of meat. I'll cook like a big venison roast or a big chuck roast, beef roast, and I'll live off that for a few days, or I'll live off venison for a few days, and I'll throw in some cans of sardines and some wild caught salmon, and I'll cook a whole chicken, then I'll cook up some bone broth. I get a good mix of all these different meats and stuff. Now, there's a reason for that, because if we talk about the nutrition profile of grass-fed beef versus venison, it's very, very different. So you'll hear a lot of carnivore people talk about this, where ribeye is basically like the perfect food. They say it's basically the perfect food because it has a 1-to-1 ratio of fat to protein, meaning for about every gram of fat you're eating 1 gram of protein. If you were to just Google nutrition facts of a ribeye steak, you would see this, right? Now, if you Google venison, it could not be more different. It is like a 9-to-1 ratio of protein to fat, meaning like 8 to 9 times more protein than fat. Now, this gets a little bit tricky. If your goal is to just lean out, like this would be the ultimate bodybuilder food. I don't know why people are running around eating lean chicken breasts. Like you should be eating venison for sure. You get way more micronutrients, way more protein per ounce. So you have to eat less food to get astronomically more protein and virtually no fat. Like 100 grams of venison is going to have like 3 grams of fat. It's crazy. Now, good for leaning out body composition wise. And we're going to talk about body fat next because I think it's really important to tie these together. If you want to lean out body composition wise, you need to eat less fat and less carbs. Now, obviously, you know, I'm a low carb guy. So if you're eating low carb and you want to cut body fat, just cut down on your fat intake. It's really that simple. Fat and carbohydrates are levers for body composition, right? That said, you may have heard me in the past talk about something called rabbit starvation. Rabbit starvation is a term that means if you were to try to survive only on rabbit meat, you would actually die because there's not enough fat to give your body the energy it needs to survive, to actually create ATP. You will die if you were to try to subsist only on rabbit meat, right? That's a scary thing. That said, the fat to protein ratio of venison is very close to rabbit meat. So there you have it. I mean, if you are going to try to subsist only on game meat or venison in particular, you're going to have to substitute some healthy fats elsewhere. That's very, very important. This is also why our hunter-gatherer ancestors ate a nose-to-tail diet. There's stuff like suet. Suet is like the fat that surrounds the organs, the kidneys, the loins, right? It's just like there's this fat in the body. It's literally body fat on the animal. So you could scrape that body fat out, put it in a bag, take it with you to the butcher. If you get a deer processed, if you kill a deer and go get the deer processed, then you can have them take that fat and grind it up in ground beef. You can also have them take pork fat or beef fat or whatever they have on hand at the butcher shop, at the processing place, and you can have them grind up that venison, and you could create like an 80-20 mixture. Like you go to the grocery store and you see grass-fed beef or normal beef, it's like 80-20, like fat to protein, or like 90-10 lean ground beef, right? You can have the processor make you ground beef out of your venison and add some fat to it. And I highly, highly suggest that because that's really where venison is much different. And like venison also has less B vitamins. Grass-fed beef just has way more B vitamins, it just does. But also venison has way more iron. So like venison's really, really high in iron compared to grass-fed beef. So I hope this answers your question. But yeah, venison is super healthy, right? It's just red meat found in nature. We've been eating it for a very, very long time. So it's super healthy. And if it is wild, it's the equivalent of getting 100% grass-fed, regenerative agriculture, rotational grazing beef. Very, very similar, but I'm always going to choose beef as like the superfood. But again, if you really wanted to lean out, you could use deer meat like that, right? Or I mean, if you have lean venison roast or something like that, then what you could do is like I'll usually cook my venison roast in the Instant Pot. And then I'll put it in some Tupperware because it's a big roast. It's going to last me a few days. And what I'll do is I'll just heat up like some avocado or some coconut oil or some grass-fed butter in a cast iron skillet. Just get a bunch of oil and I'll throw the meat in there, just kind of sizzle the meat in that oil, sprinkle some coconut aminos, then throw it on the plate. I'm adding some healthy fats to it and it's freaking delicious. Absolutely great. So great question about venison. We haven't really talked much about venison, I don't think, particularly the nutrient profile. But important to know this stuff. Medicine's very, very cool stuff. So that brings me to my next point in terms of leaning out or using these lean proteins like chicken breasts or venison or things like that. I have just a basic question about body fat percentage. And we probably talked about this in other AMAs before, but like I said, there's 92 of them. So I actually really want to start repeating some of these things. I want to talk about fat loss. I want to talk about macros. I want to talk about these things that a lot of the newbies may have missed if they haven't had a chance to listen to 92 freaking AMAs, right? So I might be repeating some content. I think that's important. So this question is, can you share what an ideal body fat percentage would be for a person who just wants to be healthy? I'm going to make the assumption that you say details matter. So for a person who isn't an athlete, just normal fat percentage if you can. Beautiful question, beautifully worded. And yes, I'm going to say details matter. The reason why I say details matter here is because It's really fun for me to show you guys people like PETA, who is one of my professional MMA fighters, and I'll get her down to single digit body fat, which is absurdly low for a female, absurdly low. Now, what's crazy is I'm able to do that with her, and she still has, she won't mind me saying any of this, but like still has her cycle as a woman. A lot of women will lose their cycle when their body fat percentage gets too low. Their hormones go awry. There is a way to somewhat do this safely that I tend to be pretty good at. Still don't recommend it for anyone. So I'll post these pictures of PETA, you know, muscled out, shredded 12-pack abs. You can see every muscle in her body. And some of these women will be like, I want to look like her. And I'm like, no, you don't. She's on death's doorstep when we get to that point, you know. You don't want to be there. So I really like that this person says details matter and is talking about body fat percentage for an average person. This is important. Now, before I dig into numbers with you, I just want you to understand people who are absurdly lean, and I'm going to show you those numbers here in a second, they will die before somebody who is less lean. So I like to float somewhere between like 10 and 13% body fat. Now, that's just for me. I own a nutrition company. I really like fitness. Staying lean helps me do things like jujitsu, helps me move around in different ways. I like being a fit guy. That said, males that are like, 14 to 17% body fat, they'll live longer. Right? So if I had it my way, I'll probably live my 30s like this kind of lean. And then when I'm like, 40s, 50s, 60, I'll probably pack on a little bit of body fat on purpose. Now, I'm not talking about getting overweight or obese, but I'd probably like to sit at 15% body fat or 17% body fat or something like that. Probably 15 if I'm as a guy, So let me run these numbers for you. But I want to make that point that in terms of longevity, being super lean does not work for survival. And also know about in terms of like longevity, look at somebody like The Rock. The Rock would die before everybody if he weren't in America. If he was in like a hunter-gatherer tribe, if all of a sudden you just dropped him in a hunter-gatherer tribe and he's that huge with zero body fat, that dude is going to shrivel up and die long before anybody, because it's unnatural to keep that kind of size, to keep that kind of body composition is actually anti-longevity. So this is the problem that I have with all these six-pack ab magazines and everything that we've been looking at for 50 plus years. People thinking a shredded six-pack is healthy. It is not, okay? So this shredded athlete physique that people have on magazine covers, that is not healthy. I repeat, that is not healthy. It is anti-longevity. You don't want to look like that if you want to live the longest possible life, okay? So let's talk body fat percentage. There is something called essential fat that you guys may have heard me talk about. Now, essential fat for a woman is about 10 to 13%. Essential fat for a man is about 2 to 5%. These numbers are very, very different in the genders, right? So 10 to 13 for women, 2 to 5 for men. This is essential body fat. This is the level of body fat that if you get under it, you are going to start having significant health problems as a result. There will be significant consequences for getting below these body fat percentages. There's all these stories like Sylvester Stallone in some of the Rocky movies, like Rocky 3, Rocky 4. He was walking around like 4% body fat. The guy was half dead. I mean, you can't walk around like that. Bodybuilders will sometimes get that way for shows, and it's just a nightmare. They are in absolute misery. There's nothing healthy about it. I don't even know why we still do this as a sport. I honestly don't. I just don't get it. But yeah, you don't want to walk around as a guy, less than 5% body fat. That's just absurd. As a woman, 10 to 13%, you are going to start having reproductive issues. You're going to start having fertility issues. You might lose your cycle, a lot of crazy things. That's essential body fat. Now, a lot of these people that you see on magazine covers are probably in the essential body fat area or a little bit above it. Do not strive to be like these people. You don't want to be like them. So for athletes, this is like cream of the crop, basically like professional athletes. For a woman, that'd be like 14, 20% body fat. For a guy, that'd be about 6% to 13% body fat. Okay, so 14 to 20 for women, 6 to 13 for men is about the athletics range of like professional athletes, right? Fighters are a whole different story because weight is part of their profession, that they have to shed weight, and that's kind of the name of the game. We get into that essential body fat area, which is really tricky, really scary, right? So, all right, let's talk about fitness. Like an average fit person, for women, this is 21 to 24% body fat. And for men, this is 14 to 17% body fat. This right here, what is considered fitness body fat, is probably what I would call ideal body fat. honestly. That would be, you're going to live a long, happy, healthy life. You can be fat adapted. You're burning fat for fuel. You can still do like a 24-hour fast. A 48-hour fast isn't going to kill you. You're not going to be miserable. Like somebody had essential body fat trying to do fasting. Oh God, it'd be a nightmare. They'd feel so bad. I can't even wrap my head around how bad they would feel, right? So this is like ideal. Like I said, I tend to live in the athletic range of 10 to 13% body fat, but this would be like ideal. Optimal body fat, 14 to 17% for men. So I've actually said this to a lot of clients. Men, I just want to get you under 18%. I'm happy if I get you under 18%. Women, I'm happy if I get you to 24% body fat. That's, I literally use this scale myself in my own practice. Now, average is for a female 25 to 31%. And I hate that that is average, because over 30%, you're creeping up on metabolic syndrome, and there's no reason you should be there. You absolutely, that is a non-negotiable for me in Clovis. I got to get you below 30% body fat, guy or girl. Absolutely. As a man, average is about 18 to 24% body fat. And you'll see a lot of guys walk around like this, the average, dad bod or all that, oh, I got a dad bod. Dad bod's probably more like 30% body fat, which is just not acceptable. I hate this dad bod movement. It's crazy. And then you have obese. So obese is 32% and above for women, 25% and above for men. So again, obese 32% plus, and men 25% plus. Now, most of you with Clovis, I would say like 99% of my clients that come to me are over 35% body fat. And they don't know it. They don't know that. They don't realize that. They might even be on a scale. If we look at BMI, the body mass index, which is nonsense, it tells us nothing. This is why I always say that body mass index tells me nothing, is there are people who will be on a body mass index that says that their normal body weight and their body fat percentage is obese. What? Their normal BMI, but they're actually obese. This is why I want to see body composition. And this is the idea of skinny fat. Like a lot of vegans are skinny fat. A lot of vegans will be well over 30% body fat, 35% body fat, and they're actually really small. Like they're really small people. They have almost no muscle mass. It's basically sarcopenia in their 20s and 30s, which is one of the ultimate risk factors for dying young, is sarcopenia, like lack of muscle mass. That's terrible, right? So it's perfectly possible to have a normal BMI and be obese in terms of body fat percentage. So really, really remember that. So recap: women, listen up, essential fat, 10 to 13%, athletic, 14 to 20%, fitness, 21 to 24%, average, 25 to 31%, and obese, 32% plus. If you are over 30%, we got to talk and we got to fix you. Men, essential fat, 2 to 5%, athletic, 6 to 13%, fitness, 14 to 17%, average, 18 to 24%, and obese, 25% plus. Fellas, I want to see you below 18%, okay? Below 18%. Women, I want to see at 24% or below. Non-negotiable. That's what I'm going to get you to as part of Clovis. Until I get you to those numbers, I'm not going to focus on other priorities with you. So some people will come to me that are 35% body fat, and they're like, bro, I want to put on 10 pounds of muscle and I want to lose body fat. And I'm like, no, you don't get to do that right now. You just don't. We have to get you healthy first. I need to help you focus on priorities that freaking matter, because you're not going to look like The Rock if you're at 35% body fat. That's what these guys are thinking. They're huge guys. So they're like, I'm already big, bro. You just need to get me shredded. Just help me put on some muscle. Or like guys always tell me this. They're like, I have so much muscle. I have so much muscle. I just have a little bit of fat. I have so much muscle. And I'm like, no, you are loaded with fat. You're mostly body fat, right? It's really tricky with guys, particularly guys that were like college athletes and stuff, that somehow still think that they're athletes and now they're 32 and 40% body fat. But anyway, yeah. So I'm here to help you with your body fat percentage. Everybody should get a scan done. I just found out that vitamin shops, crap, I can't remember if it's Vitamin Shop or NutriShop. I think it's NutriShop, actually, NutriShop. But there are these NutriShops locations where you can go get an in-body scan for free. You just walk in and they'll give you an in-body scan. If you buy something from them, I think you get 2 in-body scans, so you can come back 30 days later and remeasure or whatever. But just be creative. Look up in-body machines, or find a CrossFit gym near you that does an in-body testing, or a personal trainer at a local gym or something that'll do a body composition test for you. You got to get body composition done. It's so, so important. I love always knowing more. I don't always know what I weigh, and I usually always know what my body fat percentage is. It's that important. So great question. And that just kind of goes back to, ties into the venison and the rabbit meat and rabbit starvation and low fat protein sources, animal proteins versus these high fat sources like grass-fed beef. How are we looking here in the comments? Jackie, they get so sick and angry in my experience. Is that women? I'm assuming you're talking about people who are like trying to get shredded or cut, or bodybuilders. Yeah, your brother was bodybuilding, so big deal. Yeah, Denise, I just answered your entire question about body fat, so you're gonna have to go back and listen. I can't go back through it. It was really long. I'm sorry, but yeah, that was your question and it was answered. So you can listen on the podcast tomorrow, or you can just replay this video. I don't know if while it's live, it probably won't let you scroll backwards, but you can watch it as soon as it's done. Yeah, Kayla, Bod Pod is like the gold standard. Like Bod Pod's amazing, DEXA's amazing, but it's a lot harder to find and it's price prohibitive. I think the cheapest Bod Pod scan I've ever seen is $50. And that's usually if you buy it with some kind of package or something. They'll give you a package deal if you get more than one reading and pay in advance. Bod Pod's great. DEXA is great. Some places will do ultrasound. That's pretty cool. 3D body imaging is cool to see for inches, but it's really not accurate. Their algorithm is not accurate for body fat percentage. So Bod Pod's probably the way to go if you can find it. So you can Google that or whatever. Let's see here. What else we got? Let me see questions. All right, cool. This is a good one. Hey, J-Town. I like that nickname. Thank you for giving me a new nickname. That's pretty cool. Oh yeah, free for military. That's very true. I just found out about that, Kayla. Thank you for bringing that up. But there's a lot of military bases I know that are doing free Bod Pod testing. There's in-body scans. And then there are other places outside of military bases where you tell them that you're military and can get it for free. So yeah, good point. I've also found out that soldiers get all sorts of stuff. I mean, micronutrient testing. You can get micronutrient testing done. You can get like even some NutrEval tests done. You can get some standard blood work done, in-body stuff. You can get Bod Pods. Pretty cool stuff. That's awesome. You should take full advantage of everything that they'll be willing to test you for. Do all of it. Even if you think it's a nonsense test, do it and then tell me about it so we can chat and see if there's any, quantifiable data that you can pull from that. So let's check here. Hey, J-Town. Again, thanks for the new nickname. Hey, J-Town, let's talk curcumin. What do you know about it? So I know quite a bit about it because I put turmeric or curcuminoids more specifically in my Perfect Paleo Powder. So a lot of people actually complain about this sometimes because of the amount of turmeric in my Perfect Paleo Powder. It'll stain their shaker cups. So when you make Perfect Paleo Powder in a shaker cup, like don't let it sit there. Like drink it down, rinse it out. Some people's kids, like they give it to their kids, digest the rest of their kids, and they spill it on their clothes, and then the clothes are ruined by turmeric. I'm really sorry. I don't know. One lady got so mad at me one time. My God. She wrote to me to tell me that the turmeric in your powder is staining my kids' clothes. And I was like, it sounds like you should get sippy cups. I thought it was a good answer, right? Nope. She was so pissed. She wrote me an email, freaking mad at me. I love being transparent with you guys, but some people say the weirdest shit to me, man. This lady got so mad at me. She's like, I wrote to you to give you feedback about your product, and you're going to tell me that I need to give my kid a sippy cup. I did not ask for your opinion on parenting. Well, I was like, holy shit, lady. Wait a minute. Somebody needs a cold shower and some coffee and paleo powder. You need to calm the fuck down. It was a joke, right? We're just joking, everybody. But seriously, give your kid a sippy cup so they don't spill. They got all sorts of fancy cups for kids now. It's beautiful. But anyway, my paleo powder has turmeric in it. This is why I know quite a bit about turmeric. Turmeric is one of the most studied compounds on planet Earth. So turmeric it's widely regarded as like one of the most beneficial spices on the planet. And again, it's one of the most studied. But so what they're asking about is curcumin. So the health benefits that come from turmeric, or people will say like turmeric root extract, or the back of my paleo powder will say 95% curcuminoids. So curcumin is really the compound found within this turmeric that is responsible for these supposed health benefits, right? Now, I think there's over 6,000 studies of turmeric. I'm pretty sure. No, curcumin itself, I think there's over 6,000 peer-reviewed clinical studies that include curcumin. So it's crazy. I mean, there's double-blind placebo-controlled studies that show like increases in working memory, that show increases in energy and mood. It's been shown to lower cholesterol, or actually like really not just lower cholesterol, but it's been shown to kind of optimize healthy cholesterol levels, whether it's like HDL, LDL, and all that stuff. Now, they're probably not testing like LDL particle number, but it's been shown to have some good stuff. Promotes decreased inflammation. Inflammation is a really big one. They've actually done double-blind placebo-controlled studies where curcumin is shown to be as effective as NSAIDs, which are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. This is like your Advil, your Tylenol, or things like that, like these NSAID drugs, shown in very high doses to be as effective as an anti-inflammatory as these different NSAID medications, and obviously without any of the side effects. So you definitely want to do that. Turmeric's also used, I mean, it's been used in traditional Chinese medicine, and Ayurvedic medicine in particular, for thousands and thousands of years, particularly for blood sugar. So turmeric is a big deal for blood sugar. But the biggest thing is probably the anti-inflammation is really what it's known for. So the big thing with curcumin that people get mixed up on is there's a lot of info swirling around about turmeric and curcumin. Like, you want to get it with black pepper, and black pepper increases the absorption and blah, 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 blah. It can, but it does it in a funky way. So the black pepper is actually it's actually inhibiting pathways in the liver that also help your body detox or remove some other harmful compounds. So different toxins found in the body. We know that liver is a detoxing organ. It removes toxins from your body. And the same thing that makes the absorption, quote unquote, or bioavailability of curcumin go up with black pepper also inhibits some pathways in the liver. So I really don't suggest that, actually. I wouldn't get these products that are like, oh, we have turmeric and 100 milligrams of black pepper or whatever. There's a digestive enzyme called bromelain, I think. Bromelain, which is a digestive enzyme that can help increase the absorption of curcumin. But the favorite way, in my opinion, to get the best bang for your buck with curcumin is the Perfect Paleo Powder, because you may notice that there are some companies that are taking turmeric or curcumin and they're putting it in gel capsules. So this would be some kind of oil, like they might use olive oil or palm oil or something like that in this gel capsule that you're taking the curcumin with to increase the bioavailability, to increase the absorption of that curcumin. Now, I bypass this by having healthy fats in the Perfect Paleo Powder. So all of my Perfect Paleo Powder has MCT oil, and at the moment it has flaxseed, which also adds some fatty acids. These are plant fatty acids, ALA. But the new paleo powder won't have that, but we are actually increasing the amount of MCT oil. So the amount of fat will stay the same. So we're having healthy fats in combination with this curcumin as well. So if you're going to get turmeric, curcumin, whatever, just get the Perfect Paleo Powder. That's what I would do. If you want to do high doses of it, you totally can. Absolutely. So get high doses. Now there are certain people too that understand that all these herbs and spices and plant compounds and everything, these are antioxidants, polyphenols, whatever you call them. It's kind of like the idea of a flu shot. It's like you're poisoning your body a little bit, and the adaptation is what's causing benefit, right? What's causing health benefit. Same thing as like sauna or cold showers or whatever. It's the adaptation. There are certain people that will rant and rave about things like turmeric or curcumin having negative effects, but I just don't see it that way. And the other thing to remember is what we're generally talking about with things like curcumin or any of these other polyphenols, antioxidants, or anything to control blood sugar, to control cholesterol. We're talking about average everyday people who are on an omnivorous diet, who are taking in all sorts of different plant compounds and different proteins and environmental stressors and all these things. That's why we use these extracts. Yes, if we were in perfect metabolic health all the time, we wouldn't need something like curcumin to lower inflammation or to help with cholesterol levels or to help with blood sugar, but only if we were in perfect human health, which virtually nobody is in 2019. You need all the help you can get. So I'm actually a big fan of things like turmeric and curcumin. Is there prep for doing an in-body scan? Yeah, for sure. You just got to fast. I recommend fasting for 12 hours. I don't ever do a body composition test without fasting for 12 hours. Some people tell you that you got to fast 6 hours. Some people say only got to fast 3 hours or whatever, but I just can't see if you're like, if you're eating a big meal and then fasting 3 hours and doing an in-body. The other thing with in-body is you actually do need to be hydrated. There are some people that will dehydrate themselves. That will actually increase the body fat percentage on your reading. That will skew the readings incorrectly. So people will wake up in the morning and be like, oh, I'm not going to drink any water because they think it's going to make them bigger or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just kind of silly, but you need to be hydrated because this is literally it's currents. They're running currents through your body, and that really can't happen without proper hydration levels. So you do need to be hydrated about 45 minutes before an in-body scan. Make sure you got plenty of water in your system. Oh my God, it stained my carpet. I'm really sorry. Don't spill paleo powder on your carpet. Don't get mad at me like the mom with the sippy cup. Just stop spilling your stuff. How about that? What else we got? Yeah. Okay. So, Kim, this is an interesting question. A little off topic, but you've mentioned before that fasting could have some negative effects for women. Could you elaborate? Also, could the carnivore diet potentially negatively affect hormones in women? Carnivore diet? No, I don't necessarily believe so. But this is N=1 experimentation. There is no blanket statement with any of this stuff. You've got to understand this. Now, I will say in my practice, I have seen virtually all women who practice 16 hours of more of intermittent fasting day after day after day, the wheels fall off. I don't know why that is. I really don't. A lot of other people have talked about this. Rob Wolf talks about this a lot. He's not a fan of intermittent fasting for women. I am not a fan of extended intermittent fasting for women. Paul Saladino is not. Cassie Wilde and I talk about this in an upcoming podcast. It just doesn't seem to work for women. I wish I knew why. I don't know. But what does drive me nuts here is this idea of affecting hormones is women get so much nonsense thrown at them where it's like, I have adrenal fatigue. I need more carbohydrate. No, that's not how these things work, right? So there can be some benefit to like cyclical carbohydrate loading, but even then we're talking about like maybe 200 grams of carbohydrates once or twice a week from something like a sweet potato, or maybe like, I don't know, I don't even want to say sushi because most sushi is garbage unless you go to a really, really, really nice restaurant that's expensive. But like you could try some white rice or some sweet potatoes or something like that, right? These things can work for women a couple times a week. But I would just say your best bet is, I think everyone should be intermittent fasting at 12 hours. That's literally just your circadian rhythm. You go to sleep. It's like if we were hunter-gatherers, it gets dark out, you hide in a cave so nothing kills you, and you don't come out until it's light outside, right? Then you got to go hunt and find food or whatever. They didn't have, candy hanging around in the cave, right? So I think that all people should be fasting for 12 hours a day, for sure. 12 to 13 hours is just fine. Some women do okay with up to 14 hours. Once you get to 14, 15, 16 hours, I wish I knew why, but the wheels literally start coming off for women. I don't know why that is. I wish I had a better understanding of that. I think that the adrenal fatigue stuff and hormones and needing carbohydrates every single day for proper hormone function, I don't think that is correct either. Usually if carnivore is not working well for a female for hormone production, they're usually not taking in enough fat. Again, like we talked about earlier with the venison, rabbit starvation, not having enough fat, only having protein. This is the problem with carnivore. A lot of people switch to carnivore and they don't realize they're eating like virtually 100% protein, because most women, let's be honest, women, all of you have usually geared towards bodybuilding diets, which is like brown rice and protein, like chicken breast, or something like the Mediterranean diet, where it's like some healthy whole grains and black beans and chicken breasts and wild caught fish, right? So what happens is women are really not used to high fat diets. They're just not. So then they switch over to carnivore and they're like, well, I only like chicken. I only like chicken and fish. I don't like red meat. If you want to switch to carnivore and only eat chicken and fish, you are going to have significant problems. You're going to have serious, serious problems on your hands. Now, the thing to think about with all hormones, Kim, this is very important. Almost all hormones in your body are synthesized, AKA created from fat, namely cholesterol, okay? So cholesterol is directly responsible for creating your hormones, namely your sex hormones, okay? Very, very important. So if you're going to try something like carnivore, you need to make sure, I'd like to see at least 60 to 70% of your daily caloric intake coming from fat, and only about 30% of your daily caloric intake coming from protein. I'd say at most 35% of your daily calories coming from protein. This is why if you're going to do carnivore, you need to do a well-formulated carnivore plan. You should probably reach out to somebody like me to help you with that, because most people that barely have an understanding of macronutrients are like, I'm going to go carnivore, and they're eating chicken breasts and salmon. Next thing you know, their freaking hair's falling out and they have no sex drive, right? It's very, very important to understand that. Sippy cups, the boys destroy sippy cups. But if you wash the clothes ASAP, you're fine. All right, what else we got here? Turmeric has made a ton of difference for my husband's inflamed hands, joints, and his fingers. Yes, now, if that is the case, Michelle, if that's the case, so if you're taking high dose turmeric and you're feeling better, we got to work on the diet. 100%, we got to work on the diet, and we need to get you on an anti-inflammation diet. So if that's what's happening with your husband, sounds to me like your husband may not be Clovis or 100% Clovis at least, or still has some foods in the diet that are messing with him. And there's another question we have here that I think is going to be cool to kind of tie back into this stuff. What else we got here? Oh, that's a cool tip. Once you wash your container, put it in the window and let the natural sunlight take away the stains. Works on my Vitamix. Very cool. That's awesome. Nice tip. All right. So what else we got here? Let me see. Okay, this was an interesting question. I like this one. And this gets back to basically this turmeric discussion of anti-inflammation and all these things. I totally get this question. It's worded a little weird. I'm just going to read it, and I hope that I'm reading it correctly because it, yeah. All right. I'm trying to understand it. It says, question, what do you know about how people can be negatively affected by having surgery, going through what compromises the surgery process, apart from what the surgery was intended to fix? Okay, again, this one's a little bit tricky. I'm going to not read the parentheses part. See if I can get this right. What do you know about how people can be negatively affected by having surgery apart from what the surgery was intended to fix? Okay, so I'm just going to say, how are people negatively impacted by surgery? Pros versus cons of surgery. Cool. There we go. Question done. Pros versus cons of surgery. Let's talk about it. I love these questions sometimes. So in most cases, I think that surgery is absolutely barbaric, and I think it's usually not necessary. Now, that said, all right, let me preface that by saying, by the time most Americans are getting surgery, they may have to have surgery because things are just so far gone. But I think you can catch things like this long before you ever need surgery. Now, if you're in a car accident and your skull gets fractured and you need surgery, yeah, you need surgery. If your femur's snapped in half and you need surgery, right? There's certain things that you need surgery for. I have a big, fat, wide nose because when I was boxing as a youngster in college, I got my nose broken probably more than once. And one of the times a bone from the bridge of my nose broke off and lodged into my sinus cavity, and I didn't know it for years. Awesome. So the doctor was like, did you ever break your nose? I'm like, I don't know, bro. He's like, well, did you ever get like hit and have a bloody nose? And I'm like, like 500 times? Yeah, I totally did, right? So that was a scenario where like I had to get surgery, and like if I make certain faces, my nose is a little crooked, they had to actually go remove this bone. There's not much that I can do about that. I was getting chronic sinus infections because the bone was messing up my sinus cavity. There are going to be situations in which you need surgery, but what I'm namely talking about here is what we would call like degenerative surgeries, meaning like your knees, your hips, your shoulders. Like there's all them. I'm losing cartilage in my knees or my hips or whatever. Like this stuff can be caught years before you get surgery. It's just that most Americans, unfortunately, do not pay attention to their own damn health, and most doctors have no fucking idea what they're talking about. So they're just like, oh, you have hip pain? Here's some glucosamine, here's some Tylenol, here's some pills, here's some pills, here's some pills. 10 years later, it's like, hey doc, this hip is not getting better. And then they finally do a scan. They're like, oh, you have no cartilage in your hip joint. Wonder how that happened while I've been pumping you full of medication to mask the symptoms for the last 10 years. And now all of a sudden you need surgery. Hey doc, go fuck yourself. Thanks for nothing, right? But anyway, this is how we get here. These degenerative things that end up requiring surgery, hip replacements, knee replacements, these kind of joint replacements, they're not necessary. You can catch them long before. Yes, I know people have to have them because they didn't catch them in time, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about how to handle that. This also goes for like really small tears. Like I had a posterior labrum tear that I got repaired again from boxing. Thank you, boxing. So I tore my labrum in my shoulder and got that repaired. And now I really wish that I hadn't, but I kind of had to because I was 18 years old, and what I'm about to walk you through really wasn't available then. Like if we talk about like platelet-rich plasma injections, or we talk about stem cells or anything like that, there's a lot of other options that I would have done before getting my surgery on my shoulder had I known. But I'm 33. I was 18 years old. I didn't know anything about anything. And the doctor said, you definitely need surgery. So I just got surgery and was laid up for 6 months. It was a nightmare, right? I hated it. But in a perfect world, these injuries and surgeries wouldn't happen to begin with. So let's talk preventative. You want to be on an anti-inflammatory diet. You want to be taking in things like collagen, like your protein powder, paleo powder, right? Taking your paleo powder, get some collagen, get some bone broth for your collagen, really micronutrient rich organ meats, red meats. Just have a really good diet, an anti-inflammatory diet. Like Michelle was saying, her husband likes turmeric for joint pain and stuff. Be on an anti-inflammatory diet, like for sure. That's going to help first and foremost in a big way, and make sure you're getting enough healthy fats. But the real issue with surgery in America is, if you ask me, once you get this surgery done, the reason why I just am always going to put way more checks in the con column than the pro column for surgery is because of the recovery process that's prescribed to us in America. What happens is you get cut open, they lay you up in a hospital bed, and they stick your body full of opioids, fentanyl and oxycodone and all these things, and they're feeding you junk food. I mean, like, they're bringing you, post-surgery, you're getting Jello and low-fat yogurt and high C and orange juice and chocolate pudding for dessert or whatever, like nothing but processed junk food that's wildly inflammatory, just making the healing process horrifically worse, right? And now, and again, when we talk about the opioids, there's a ton of Americans running around who are normal people, and now they're junkies because they got hurt and they got prescribed medications. This happens to a lot of fighters. Like, I genuinely can't even tell you how many fighters are pill heads. They're junkies because they had to get surgery from post-fight thing or getting hurt in a game. Football players, they were perfectly normal people, and then they get prescribed fentanyl or oxycodone or whatever the hell, I don't even know, and they end up junkies. It's really, really bad. So that's probably the number one risk is, I won't do it. I just walked you through multiple surgeries that I've had, and I've done them all without pain medications. People I say that to people, like, just don't take your pain medication. They're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, I don't know. Don't be a baby. Like, for real, just, it hurts. Yeah, that's part of the experience. Pain is part of the experience. We numb everything in America. Numb. It's like cold showers. Cold showers hurt like shit, especially today. There's ice and snow on the ground, but I still do them. I love them. I feel great afterwards, right? Same thing with surgeries. When I got the surgery on my face, when I got the surgery on my shoulder, I've had broken bones. I don't take pain medication. I just don't do it. So that's probably the number one risk. But if you have to have surgery and need to recover, if it were me, I'd probably go pretty close to carnivore. Honestly, if I had a serious surgery and I needed to recover, I'd go almost carnivore. I'd eat a ton of organ meats just for micronutrients. Each and every day, I'd be eating a lot of organ meats. I'd be eating a lot of healthy fats. I'd be eating a lot of wild-caught fish, or I'd be supplementing with omega-3s for sure. So anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Might even try something like turmeric. I'd be taking a lot of collagen for sure. Collagen is the most abundant protein in the entire body. Literally holds your joints, ligaments together. Think of it as like a net. It's like a web that holds everything together, right? So I would absolutely be loading up on collagen. I'd be loading up on bone broth would be a great idea. Another thing is you could supplement, I'm looking at them right now in my cabinets, but you could supplement specific amino acids like L-arginine or L-citrulline. These increase nitric oxide. They're really good for blood flow. This is going to promote healing, right? Really just improve blood flow, improve healing, increase nitric oxide. So yeah, I would do, organ meats, collagen, arginine, citrulline, maybe some turmeric. I'd eat a whole bunch of wild-caught fish to get some omega-3 fatty acids. I'd probably take high-dose vitamin C, honestly. You can get online and go to like NutraBio and get just a boatload of vitamin C for very cheap. So I'd probably do high-dose vitamin C. I'd do like infrared sauna. I would definitely do infrared sauna. I might even do hyperbaric oxygen chamber if I could get access to it. I don't know where they do that around Nashville. I haven't looked into it. But yeah, I mean, if you have to get a surgery, your full-time job should be recovery. Your full-time job should be recovery and movement. I really think it's kind of silly that they tell people to just lay around and do nothing. Like, elevate the injury above your heart or whatever, and don't move a muscle. And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe for a couple days. But you need that blood flow again, which is why I would probably use specific amino acids to increase blood flow. There's a lot that I would do for injuries. And if you can't tell from the way I'm ranting to you right now, I do work with people who get injured quite often as their job, AKA punched and kicked in the face. So yeah, it's a big deal. Injuries are a really big deal, and there's a lot of ways around them. And the best advice I could give you is to basically, well, I don't even want to say this. I'm not going to go against medical advice, but all I will say is that I probably would not agree with the prescribed recovery process that most PCPs are going to give you, or most surgeons are going to give you if you had to get a surgery, right? What else we got here? Michelle, oh man, I wish he'd do 100% Clovis and anti-inflammatory diet. He's not there yet, but I'm working on it. Yeah, I wish that he could understand, that you could save some money on turmeric by just not eating inflammatory foods. That'd be awesome, right? I don't know. That's the thing is, like, with joint pain, people are like, I need turmeric, I need glucosamine, I need this. I'm like, yeah, sure, you can add, but you're going to get a far bigger return on investment by take away the stuff that's not working for your body. Your body is speaking to you very clearly, and you got to listen. Should we be Clovis Nutrition? Oh, wait a second. Let me read this. Should we on Clovis Nutrition Plan be taking a multivitamin? If so, which one? Yes. So Denise, I don't know if you're a member of I Am Clovis, but in the iamclovis.com/members section, I outline all of my top picks for supplements. And people love to say, what about this supplement? What about that supplement? What about this supplement? I go, no, my supplement list is incredibly small, incredibly limited, because these are the only ones that I have vetted and the only ones that I have trusted. So my hands down favorite multivitamin is Healthy Cell Pro, but it's going to run you about $90 a month. So that's a big time investment. The budget friendly one is Pure Encapsulations 1 WNE, which is a pretty solid multivitamin. If I could pick my favorite multivitamin on planet Earth, that would be grass-fed beef liver. 2 ounces of grass-fed beef liver a day. Basically, all your micronutrient needs are covered. It's that nutrient dense. I also, if you're a member, you get a discount on Paleo Valley's organ complex. So their grass-fed organ complex is great. That's another micronutrient, but again, you'd have to eat, 30 pills a day to get what you would get from just 2 ounces of grass-fed beef liver. So that's the thing. When people talk about micronutrients, nature's perfect multivitamin, nature's perfect multivitamin is organ meats. That's what I would do. So it depends. Now, again, so Denise, I can't make a blanket statement here because you say Clovis Nutrition Plan. I'd have to see exactly what your day looks like, crushing macros, all these different things. I need to see what your food sources are. And all that. But yeah, if you're following a custom nutrition plan and hitting your macros, you're probably fine and you probably don't need a multivitamin. That said, vitamins are absurdly safe and there's really no downside to taking them. I don't even put vitamins in the category of supplements. I think supplements are different than vitamins. If you're really just talking about vitamins, particularly like Healthy Cell Pro, that is all, kind of extracts from whole foods or things like that, I'm really not worried about it. That said, your Perfect Paleo Powder has a boatload of vitamins. So if you look at your paleo powder on the back of the bag, you'll see that you have 50% of all of your B vitamins, 50% of your daily vitamin C. There's all sorts of vitamins. It's a laundry list of vitamins and minerals, not to mention the antioxidants, anti-inflammatories, the probiotics, the prebiotics. So really, paleo powder is a multivitamin. So I guess it's kind of silly that I recommend other multivitamins, but I'm just not the sales guy who's like, only take my product, but just take your Perfect Paleo Powder bag, turn it around, and look at the nutrition facts and look at all the vitamins and minerals. So I would go paleo powder if I were you. That's what I would do. What else we got here? I'll try the liver. Okay, awesome. So I think that's it, everybody. This is AMA number 92. I do have some more questions that I didn't get to. We only have a couple minutes left, and some of them are pretty personal questions, which is totally cool. I'm cool with personal questions. I love the personal questions. It's actually my favorite thing to do on AMAs, is to dig deep into my own journey and share insights that I've learned along the way. That said, with just a couple minutes left, I don't want to dig into these really personal ones. There were some really big, lofty questions that I got about some personal stuff. So maybe we'll hit those on another AMA. Maybe they'll be recorded as a Just Justin episode. I think I'm going to release another Just Justin episode probably this Saturday, if I had to guess. Next week, I think I'm going to put Cassie Wild's podcast live. And that is because the Clovis Challenge is finishing. So the Clovis Challenge, I just want a lot of you. It's mostly women, a couple guys in there that I really want to feel empowered after doing this 21-day challenge. And it seems like they are. People are really, really excited about this challenge, raving about the results they've already gotten in less than 3 weeks. So what I'd like to do is wrap up that challenge, release the Cassie interview so you guys can just hear somebody who walks the walk and who talks the talk and walks the walk. Is this every single day, inside and out. And we had a great discussion about her kids. We had a great discussion about her split household. She handles a split household with her ex-husband just about better than anyone I have ever heard of. I just hear so many people with these split households fight. You're never going to get anywhere that way. It's not going to happen. But anyway, we had a great conversation about it. I love this podcast. So I think it's perfect timing for me to put out this Cassie podcast. I think I'm going to do that. And then I have another upcoming podcast with Dr. Wes Hendricks, who's a former chiropractor and movement coach, calisthenics coach. Then I have a fantastic podcast coming out with Will Clyden of Ojai Energetics, the CBD brand. Yeah, just some really, really cool stuff going on. I did it in case you missed it earlier, just because I was in Rhode Island all weekend. So in case you missed it, it's coming kind of last minute this week. 2 live videos in a day. That's cool. So I'll release those as podcasts. I'll probably put them both up either tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm going to get back to work in the I Am Clovis store. So if you like this episode, click the happy button, the like button, the love button, the smiley face, the heart, the wow, the angry, whatever. Remember, the more emojis you click, the more engagement that gets the video. So the more active you guys are on these videos, the more comments. We got 50 comments right now, 16 little emoji clips. So I want even more people just click the like button, click the love button, click, share this on your timeline. A lot of you guys have been sharing the posts on the Clovis Facebook page. I really, really appreciate that when we make these really cool little memes about corn or soy or fitness or whatever. When you guys share those, that's huge for Clovis. That brings more eyeballs on Clovis, gives us favorable rankings in the Facebook algorithm, puts us in front of more people's faces. So the more clicking you can do, again, thank you. I see all these coming in. That's fantastic. The more buttons that you click, the better. The more comments that you leave, the better. The more people you tag in the comments, the better. All I can say here is just the more engagement, the better, in terms of getting these bumped to the top of people's news feeds, making people see this really important information. Same thing goes for Instagram. You can repost on Instagram. You can tag your friends in the comments, whatever you can do to get this stuff in front of people. It's really, really critically important. So anyway, that's AMA number 92. I hope you guys found this enjoyable. Sorry that I'm a little bit tired today. I'm just a little less energy than I usually have, which is probably a good thing because I spend most weeks screaming at you and ranting, but that's cool. Never at you. I'm always screaming at the man or some doctor who's a jerk or something, but I'm always side by side with you guys, my Clovis peeps, taking on the world, taking on the nonsense, spreading accurate information, and I will continue to do so forever as long as you guys continue to support me. So thank you so much. Thank you for those of you that are doing the Clovis Challenge. Thank you for those of you that have submitted questions at ama.iamclovis.com. Please, please, please go review the podcast. Guys, we have like 76 podcast reviews, and if I get 100 podcast reviews, that just skyrockets me in the podcast rankings, and more people will see the Clovis Culture Podcast. So go to the Clovis Culture Podcast, leave me a review. If you leave a review, email me, justin@iamclovis.com. I will send you free paleo powder sample packs in return for your podcast review. Please help me out. Please do that. Review the podcast. Thank you for all the engagement. You guys are wonderful. Get off the screens and get some sleep. I will talk to you tomorrow in the Facebook groups. I love you guys. Good night. Bye-bye.